Hello there, and welcome to the True Pop Culture 7 show. I'm your host, True Pop, here to laugh and think about pop culture stupidity. For this week's show, I'm joined by Capital Opinions.
Yes, today I'll
Cap.
be playing the part of Mr. Bug.
Okay, yeah.
Is
My
that your usual co-host?
yeah, that's my occasional co-host. Occasional,
All
essentially.
right,
That,
I'll
that's
be
what
Mr.
it's
Bug
about.
for today and give all my
Okay.
bug-related opinions, of which I have many.
Thank you for that. I'm sure he'd appreciate it definitely. Cap, would you like to tell the people where can they find you and whatnot?
Oh,
Your
you can find
general
me
info.
on YouTube primarily. If you don't spot me in real life, I have a
Mhm,
YouTube channel called Capital O Opinions. It's a mouthful, but
mhm.
makes videos on there. We're still working on new videos. Don't get it twisted. You can check out a video if you were interested in the sort of thing I like to do and will likely be doing more of in the future. You could watch the Matrix Resurrections video I made. It should be one of the more recent
Oh,
ones. I'm especially proud of that one. I like reviewing movies sarcastically. So that is a sarcastic video essay in praise of the Matrix Resurrections. I'm quite happy with it. Go check it out
oh,
if you're into that sort of thing. But for
nice.
now, stay to hear all my bug opinions.
I'm guessing it had to have like a lot of willpower to watch that. Like, wow, I'm just like
Oh,
I was
it's
gonna
an
watch it,
awful
but I'm like,
film. It's
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
missing out. You're not missing out on anything by avoiding it. I would
Mhm.
recommend anyone avoid it for their own mental health. But it was the sort of thing that I watched that made me realize how much I loved The Matrix. I never thought about it that explicitly. I liked The Matrix. It's like a really good movie. Everyone seems to like it. But then watching it
Mhm.
again, I'm like, I actually think I really loved The Matrix, and I just hated what they did to the
Yeah, yeah.
legacy of that movie. That movie's awful, like actually horrendous. And
Mm.
I was especially motivated to make a video about it when I saw so many people basically arguing that it was supposed to be bad on purpose and that that's actually kind of subversive. So
Okay, that's certainly one take. I mean, I guess we don't see the value of something until that's a rubbish sequel to it. I guess that's how the saying goes, you know. The
oh,
value of
definitely, it
something until
happens
it
all the
goes missing.
time, in my
Yeah, yeah.
opinion. I mean, I think Mahler's new Ant-Man video certainly
Mhm.
made me appreciate that there's value in Ant-Man 1 and 2. He did a couple I've never even seen
One,
them.
not two.
Oh, I mean, even comparatively, there might be some value in
Maybe.
2 comparatively, because Quantumania is just awful,
Hmm.
just horrendous.
Definitely.
I think you were
It,
saying before we started that, that was, like, one of the last times you say you saw that in IMAX? Is that what you said?
yeah. IMAX so receipts. Luckily, I didn't pay for it, but yeah.
That was
The only thing I liked about it was Kang, and now that I'm like 3 hours into the Muller video, I'm like, hmm, what did I like about him? Probably his performance, nothing else.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Well, we'll see what happens with Jonathan Majors' career. That
yeah.
will be interesting to watch if he has one at all, because
Um,
he was really good in Creed 3. I don't know if you saw that.
yeah, I saw that. That was like I'm pretty sure like the week or two after. So saw that again. I think he was great in that.
Yeah, he was. He was really good. I was like, "Oh, damn."
Definitely went to the gym. So uh, no, yeah, I think there was some good news in his court news the last time I heard about it, but
Yeah, I
it's
haven't
still I
been
think
paying
like
super close attention, but I have heard
mhm,
things both in defending and against him. So who knows?
definitely. Um, yeah, I guess with that introduction out the way, like I say, we'll get into the first segment of the show. Hang on, where's the clip? There we go.
And finally, the piece de resistance.
You got little
Okay.
theme transitions. That's fun. That's hip.
Yeah, essentially.
Do you have like a VFX editor hiding in a dungeon somewhere that you're mistreating that made all that for you?
Yeah, myself. I'm I'm the one stuck in the dungeon. Yeah, so sucked into pop culture. So yeah, the part of the show we just discuss what we've consumed pop culture wise. And as I said last week, I'm still reading The Name of the Wind. My guy I know, Shagsworth, recommended it to me. Bit of a slow start, but it does get gooder the more you read on. I've just realized this week I have not even read a chapter. That's probably the phone's fault. I've been spending too much time on it, but I'll finish it eventually. I've got
What kind of, what's that book? What's it about? What kind of book is that?
it's a fantasy book, and it's essentially about this wizard, I guess you could say, who's had a long and infamous career. Apparently, he was a king killer of some sort, and he's hiding away in an inn. And then this chronicler, writer guy, essentially finally finds him in this abandoned, secluded inn place where he's like an innkeeper. And he does like an interview with him and does like a biography of his life.
Oh,
And,
that could be
yeah,
neat.
and yeah, it's amazing world building, amazing characters. It's written. I'm pretty sure the writer was like a poet, and he like essentially redrafted his writing on and on and on, essentially, and that's why it's kind of really engaging to read. But yeah, I've been lacking in reading. I've just been listening to podcasts and whatnot, and mainly EFAP more videos. So that's what's been taking my time. I get and general Twitter doom scrolling as well. So I'm probably gonna have to. I'm probably gonna have to throw it away soon, but hey, and get on with reading it. Yeah, I've got like Lord of the Rings on my bookshelf, and Dune and books that you probably should read, but I'm like, nah, I'll just get this new one. Apparently, it's fun to read. That's the story of old books, I guess.
Oh, I have a really bad habit of collecting books on my shelf that I'm like, I'm gonna read that. That sounds good. Like, oh, I should own that. That's a good book, and I haven't read them.
Yeah.
I did recently finish reading The Maltese Falcon, which I quite liked. It's a really good one.
Okay, I've heard of it. My older sibling borrowed it from my younger sibling because he loves detective stories and all
I
that.
love detective stuff. If I had to pick maybe one genre above all others, it'd probably be detectives. I'm so obsessed. Anyway, The Maltese Falcon is really good. I watched the movie. The movie is very highly regarded. I think because it was. Yes, there's a movie starring Humphrey Bogart. I think it came out, I believe, in 1941. It was very influential. It was one of the earliest and most popular noir films, so very much influenced the style. I don't think it's actually a very good movie, especially compared to the book. I think having read the book is probably the only way I could have comprehended what happens in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of the movies of the time that are still very highly regarded, wasn't super impressed with the movie, but the book is good. The book is quite good. I think it's ripe for a better adaptation now.
Okay,
I think in the right hands of someone like David Fincher could make a really, really good movie.
Yeah. He has.
Love to see that.
David Fincher has a new movie coming up, The Killer with Michael Fassbender. Yeah,
kind of a generic title, but I'm excited for it nonetheless.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's David Fincher. I mean, you've probably
seen Mank. I love his work.
I've heard about Mank. I've not watched it.
Ooh, I hate Mank.
Okay, interesting.
Partly because of how much I love the rest of his work, partly because of how much I love Mindhunter and am still disappointed that we'll never get any more of it. That he fucked off from Mindhunter to go do Mank. Mank's a pile of garbage. I hate Mank.
That's kind of depressing.
All my homies.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people like it more than I did, but was not a fan.
He did do Zodiac Killer, right? Oh, am I mixing
Zodiac?
That up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Zodiac's
Yeah.
Great movie.
I watched that with like my younger sibling, and he absolutely loves that film. Me too. Yeah. So if he does something like that with this movie, I'm all in.
It's a return to form. Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. Speaking of detective movies, I guess you really enjoy Glass Onion and whatever Knives Out was.
Mhm. Hate those movies. I think I hate them partly because of how much I like a good detective story.
Mhm.
Yeah, those movies are awful.
Did you hear about? Did you watch the Murder on Orient Express and the other one, Death on the Nile?
No, I haven't. I don't. I don't usually go for the, or I'm not especially drawn to the whodunits, the Agatha Christie sort of like, oh, someone turns up dead and a bunch of people trapped in a place. Which one was the killer? I mean, that's interesting, but I'm more interested generally in like, oh, someone killed someone and there's detectives who have to go try to figure out who did it and hunt them down and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Or private eye stuff. So I have not seen the killer in the. Is it the killer in the Orient Express? The murder on the
Murder on the Orient Express, and then Death on the Nile, and there's another one now, The Haunting of.
Oh, I've seen the
Venice?
trailer
Something?
for The Haunting of Venice, and it looks terrible.
I don't know why they keep. I'm pretty sure these movies keep bombing, so I'm not sure what is there like money laundering operation in there. Like
That's a good question.
another one after all.
I don't know because I didn't see Death on the Nile. All I've seen are clips of Gal Gadot's, absolutely stellar acting performances. Yeah, so I don't know anyone that's seen them, but I've heard nothing good, and yet they keep making them. I think is it Kenneth Branagh who's doing all these? What happened to him?
I'm pretty sure he's the tech. I'm not sure if he's directing or writing. I'm not entirely. I know he plays the guy. I mistook him for Ian McGregor the first time I watched the Murder on Orient Express. I thought it was Ian McGregor for some reason.
Yeah, he directed Death on the Nile.
Yeah. Oh,
and
he
Murder
did?
on the Orient Express, and so he did Belfast, which I think Belfast is very much like an autobiographical movie about a kid growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. So that feels more. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's all right. That feels more like a passion project, something he really cares about. I don't, I've seen the trailer for Death on the Nile. It doesn't look like a passion project. Maybe it is. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's great.
Maybe you're just a hater. You know,
it's possible.
The other thing that I've watched, I've kind of made a start on X-Files.
Okay.
I liked the pilot. I don't know if I want to carry on.
Interesting. So my girlfriend really loves the X-Files. She's shown me like a selection of some of the better episodes. I've not watched it all in order or anything like that. And some of those episodes
I've tried to do, like watch the best episodes. Yeah,
very good. Some really good ones. God, I won't know any of the names, but there's one with what's his name? Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston's like driving high-speed sort of thing across the desert or something like that. I don't know. There's one with him that's really good. There's one that's a parody of the show Cops, the sort of reality television program. It's shot in the style of Cops, except that there's a sort of supernatural thing that happens. That one was really, really good. So, I've seen a little bit of the X-Files and enjoyed it, but I've not watched it end to end. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially if it's, from the era where they had like 22 episodes a season, that there's some slower ones, some filler episodes.
Yeah, I've tried to like get like a list. Okay, what are the highlights, like biggest episodes I should definitely watch of season 1? Because I am not watching 14 episodes essentially. I don't know. I just wanted to get like the general gist of it essentially.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to carry on with it or not. I liked somewhat the first episode, and then on the rest I was like somewhat meh. There was an episode where I'm forgetting her name, the female partner, where her father passed away. That scene, the first scene, it's kind of creepy, but really emotional as well, because she essentially had the dinner with her parents. Her dad hugged her goodbye, and then she falls asleep, but she's woken up by some sort of light, and she sees her dad on the chair, and the dad is kind of like speaking, but nothing comes out. And then she goes to pick up the phone, and she's like, "Dad, why are you here?" And when she talks on the phone, the mum is in tears and tells her that the father passed away, essentially. And then she looks at the chair, and the chair is empty. And I thought, okay, that's a really good scene.
Interesting, yeah.
and then it goes a little more boring from that. Essentially, the duo have to like interview this prisoner guy who's suggesting that he can talk to the dead and stuff like that. And he kind of is he faking it or not? Can he talk to this person's dad or not? Kind of thing. I like the start. I love that opening scene, but
Yeah.
the rest of it, I was
Maybe the
just
show
looking at-
itself just has a little bit of a slow start. Might get worth it,
Yeah.
because there's some really good shows that are
Yeah,
like that. Buffy is one I would
Mhm.
throw in that category.
yeah.
Where it has a slow start, but
Because Mola wouldn't shut up about it, I watched all of it essentially, trugged through the first season. So.
really good. Big fan of that show.
Mm-hmm. I think I liked Angel more, but I hated the Angel ending, to be honest. But
What? You hated the ending itself?
Yeah. I don't like cliffhangers. Especially when you find out like I know that's a bit of a
I don't know if I
statement,
describe that as a cliffhanger. It's an interesting.
Well, okay. How so?
Well, it's not so much that like whether they. Well, I don't want to spoil too much for anyone
Okay.
who hasn't seen
Okay.
it, but I think the speech he gives right
Mm-hmm.
before it ends is sort of what the show is all about in terms of the message,
Mm-hmm.
if you would call it that. Not to reduce it to like it's like that's all it's trying to do is send a message, but the sort of what a hero does
Mm-hmm.
is sort of stamped pretty affirmatively at the end of the show. I don't know. I think it's good. I think, well, they were definitely canceled, so they weren't going to get a whole lot else to do anyway. But I thought the ending is quite strong in terms of like it's not about whether they win or lose the final battle. It's that they, fight anyway. That sort of deal.
Yeah. Still, I don't know. I didn't find it satisfying. It's a subjective thing. I know. I can be convinced that it's all good and stuff, but I'm still not satisfied because that final season I was definitely really engaged and it just like
It
ends
is
like that.
very
I'm like,
good.
what? No more. I was kind of like the kid with like the empty cereal box. I'm like tipping it. I'm like, wait, there's no more episodes. What?
That's fair.
I guess
Wanting more,
enjoyed
I
it too much.
will allow that.
Yeah. So yeah, Kat, what did you watch? I know you told me before we started you watched the Voyage on the Demeter.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Yes.
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't have checked it out were it not for the
Mhm.
fact that I have, the AMC subscription sort of thing. So I go to see a lot of movies I probably wouldn't have paid for if it was just paying 15
Mhm.
bucks to go see it. But I was not impressed by The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I thought a lot of it was quite stupid.
Okay.
I wouldn't really recommend it. It was kind of, I didn't really like the way it was shot. I think there's a real dearth of character work, or themes or ideas being explored. They kind of speed run through what you would think character scenes would be. It's like
Mhm.
clearly the people who have made it have watched movies before and they understand what sort of things happen in a movie. But I don't think any of it was especially well executed. If you just want to see some cool vampire deaths, like Dracula
Mhm.
killing some folks, then you might enjoy it. But I
Is
did not
Dracula
think
just like a beast, or does he talk? Or
yeah, I don't mind spoiling it because I'm not recommending
yeah.
it. He basically takes a full-on demonic form for the entire movie. Even
Okay.
at the very end where it would make the most sense for him to take the form of a human, because the movie is clearly aware that because the movie is a chapter out of the Dracula book,
Mhm.
right? So
I had to read that in the English class essentially.
it understands that he
Yeah.
can transform into different, he can transform into a person. I think at one point a character says that the person that she knew, the count back in I think Romania, wherever it was just the form he takes to hide his true form. The true form being a demon with bat wings and gnarly teeth and glowing eyes, all that sort of stuff. I thought the design was all right, the design of the creature, but he doesn't transform into any other figures. He's not a person at any point in the movie. It's rather strange. But if you just want to see a giant winged demon kill some folks, then there are worse ways to spend your time, I suppose.
So you could technically replace any monster in there and throw it on the ship, essentially.
Essentially,
Mm.
yes. Well, except for the fact that there are a couple people, we don't see the process, but there are a couple people who get turned into vampires. So if it was just a werewolf on the ship, obviously that scene. Well, actually, no, that scene would make sense. But there's a bad monster to choose. If there was, just a bear or something on the ship, obviously you wouldn't get any of the scenes of people becoming
Yeah.
bears. But
Yeah.
you
A
know,
big xenomorph. Oh.
I'm a big fan of vampires from a story perspective, and I thought a lot of the fun of vampires was kind of not taken advantage of.
Utilized.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Interesting that you say that. I heard one of the actors was really good. I can't remember their name. Completely
Do you know
blanking
what role he played? Was it the captain?
on. It wasn't. It
an
wasn't the
older
Game of
white
Thrones guy. It was. I think it was a black guy. I
Okay, yeah,
forget his name.
he's ostensibly the main character. He's
Okay.
a scientist, or I think
Mhm.
he's a doctor. He's a physician, I
And
should say.
there was someone with a mustache as well.
Yeah. I
Okay,
wasn't
those two.
impressed with his performance, but a lot of times when I watch a movie like this and I don't think anyone's especially strong from a acting perspective, I usually just blame the directors, because I've seen
Mhm.
enough times actors be not good in something and then they're great in something else, and it's usually the director's fault. So he could be a great actor. You wouldn't know it from this movie, though, in my
Okay.
opinion.
Interesting. Anything else you've
Oh,
read, watched, or whatnot?
I wouldn't call this pop culture. This is more
Mhm.
a niche sort of thing. But last night I went to go see the newest Neil Breen film in the
Mhm.
cinema. Are you familiar
Okay.
with Neil Breen?
No, the first time I'm hearing that.
Okay.
Do go
Um,
on.
Neil Breen is a legendary, so bad it's good filmmaker. So you've
Mhm.
probably heard of Tommy Wiseau, who directed The Room, and
Mhm.
I don't remember the name of the guy who did Birdemic, but there have been some pretty famous so bad they're good films over the
Mhm.
years. Usually, what seems to happen to them is that they make one movie and it kind of blows up as like oh my god, this is horrendous, you have to see it. It becomes kind of a cult classic, and then they try to capitalize on that. They try to get in on the joke, and then they make follow-ups that aren't funny because they're ironic now. Whereas before they were just genuinely trying to make a good movie and they were awful at it, and that's what was fun, right? But Neil
Mhm.
Breen somehow still, this is his like fifth or sixth movie, completely untainted. He's making so bad they're incredible films still.
Okay.
So I highly recommend. So the one that just came out is called it's called Cade the Tortured Crossing, and it is a
Okay.
sequel to his, I believe, 2018 movie called Twisted Pair. Twisted Pair, though I don't know if he wants it to be, is on YouTube in its entirety. If anyone wants to check it out,
Okay.
his movies are incredible. There's a really good Red Letter Media, Best of the Worst from back in the day, talking about Double Down, which is one of his first movies. And then I think YMS made a video covering Neil Breen's filmography broadly. Those are quite entertaining videos to watch. So I watched
Okay.
his new one in the theater, and it's yet another banger. It's incredible. The man doesn't miss. Though I will say, seeing it with a crowd of people was a mistake because a lot of people in the audience were just like talking and commenting over the whole movie.
Okay. Are you in America?
Yes.
Okay, that explains a lot. In the
Well,
UK, silent as a gravestone.
okay. So here's the thing: there is a
Mhm.
cultural difference there, one
Mhm.
that I'm envious of.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking about sort of your average. Sometimes people will say things, or sometimes people will pull out a phone, or or there's a crying baby. General sort of
Yeah.
annoyances.
Yeah.
This is like a whole bunch of people who are like, we're all here to watch a so bad it's funny movie, and they're here to go, I'm funny too, also actually, and just make jokes the whole time. It's like, I didn't pay for your shitty, unfunny commentary. Get out of here.
Yeah.
So if you do want to go see the new Neil Breen movie, just wait for it to come out digitally. It's
Mhm.
very funny and worth it, but don't go see it with a group of people because it's
Yeah.
a mistake.
People
So
are disappointing sometimes.
They are. I am very envious of the sort of culture of just being respectful in the cinema because
I think the Brits are kind of like, oh, yeah, we don't really give a shit. Essentially, we don't pay attention. I don't know. They're just, as soon as it's a dark room, I guess everyone goes just quiet. Essentially, I don't know why Americans don't have that. That kind of. It's not like you can pause it essentially, and
yeah. So it's kind of a two-sided thing because so I live in Atlanta, which a lot of
a lot
African
of
American
movies
people.
filmed there.
Oh, yes, a lot of movies filmed here. A lot of African American people in Atlanta. So here's the thing about seeing a movie with a majority African American audience. It's either going to be amazing or one of the worst theatrical experiences you've ever seen because of the talking and commenting, right? Sometimes you watch a horror movie, like one of the best cinema experiences I've ever had was when I saw Paranormal Activity. And like some of the things people shouted out during different points of that movie were genuinely hysterical. It was so fun. Like the stereotype is the like, oh, watch out, girl, he gonna kill you. That whole thing, right? It's very real. That's a stereotype for a reason, right? And so for some movies, that's a very funny and enjoyable experience. And then sometimes it's just like, shut up. Please just shut up. I'm trying to watch the movie. Enough intense work for horror movies.
Yeah. I made the mistake of watching that movie by myself when I was a very young child, and I was I don't deal with horror well,
Okay.
I do like horror when it's mixed in with something. When maybe it's like a horror thriller, or maybe I don't know, mixed in with sometimes comedy. Not horror by itself. That I kind of find it a little difficult. But as I watched it as a young child, and oh, this is not scary, and as I progressed, I was getting more scared and more scared. And I think it was something in the credits of something that fooled me into thinking that this was real.
Oh yeah, the classic sort of found footage.
And I had to get my grandma to bless the house. I was so shitting.
Wait! You get them to bless the house? Is that what you
said? Bless the house. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was so scared of objects just flying in midair. I
don't
know how old I was.
Like just doing a sign of cross, burning sage. What are we talking here?
Holy water with you dab it in like it's not like a paint. It's like a paintbrush thing, and just splash it around the house. Essentially,
that's incredible.
Christianity is not magic. Don't treat it that way. Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't know how old I was. Maybe 10, 12 or something like that. So don't watch too scary movies by yourself. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched like Predator, the first Predator, when I was 12. And I was fine. So
that's interesting. Are you the kind of person for whom a horror movie is scarier if you can believe it, like that it could happen to you in your life?
Probably, yeah. I think that's what like kind of tripped me up with paranormal. The way back then it was just like camera perspective and stuff like that. And it just felt more, I don't know, like it's actually happening.
For me, the sort of very ordinary, mundane suburban setting made it spookier for me because the American suburbs is where I'm from. So I was like, yep, that looks like, I mean, I didn't live in one of those kind of little McMansions that they're in that movie, but that sort of neighborhood, I was just like, oh, yep, it looked so ordinary and that spooky things could happen there, as opposed to something like Alien, which I love that movie. Very scary for very different reasons. I'm not thinking, oh my God, that could happen to me, because I'm not a space trucker in outer space. It's kind of, it's a different kind of scary. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah. I reckon you've probably watched Haunting of Hill House.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I made a video on it. One of the more controversial videos I've made. I didn't cover the whole show. It was a video essentially about one aspect that I really didn't like. Do you like Haunting of Hill House?
I really liked it. Because it kind of, I've never seen something like it before, because it kind of showed, the trope is usually the generic thing to do is show people in a haunted house, have them scared and whatnot, maybe one makes it back out alive.
Mhm.
And I felt like Haunting of Hill House approached it differently. It shows like, okay, what happens to these people after the house experience? It's
Yeah,
something that
for
follows
sure.
them essentially for the rest of their lives. They're kind of the life is in shambles after it, and I always found that so engaging to kind of look at these characters as people instead of just in one fixed situation. Essentially, like it kind of drags them everywhere where they go. Essentially, and that's what I found really engaging about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I know people. I know Mola and friends said that the ending wasn't so good or something. I didn't listen to the entire review, but I was fine with it. I guess I don't know.
It's
I guess
interesting.
I enjoyed the beginning so much that I kind of on the ending I was like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. But yeah, on repeat watch views, there's definitely you can spot things that you missed essentially, and that's also something that's interesting.
Have you seen his other work? Mike Flanagan,
I've
that is?
seen Midnight Mass, but I've not finished it.
Okay. That's probably for the best, honestly. And
I felt I'm right, because when I canceled my Netflix now, but when I was scrolling through Netflix and I was like, oh, there's a priest, it's on Netflix. What's it going to be about? Pedo priest, probably. I'll skip that, But it's not
Okay.
that. It's
Yeah.
it's I just assumed the worst. But it wasn't that. It was something. I think it was actually kind of respectful to Christianity in general.
Yeah,
Well, it's more so character focused, essentially.
I wouldn't necessarily call it pro or anti-Christianity.
Yeah. I thought it's just going to be anti because it's on Netflix and whatnot.
Yeah.
Essentially,
That's a good thing.
very interesting.
I
but
was really
I haven't finished it.
Midnight Mass really got my hopes up because it's one of those things. It's been out a while. I don't mind spoiling it. That you discover it's about vampires. You don't really know what it is. You don't really know what the spooky thing is for at least a few episodes. And so when I'm like, oh shit, we're doing vampires, hell yeah.
Yeah, I do have questions. Where did that old fart find a freaking vamp? You must be all sorts of loads to find.
He's on a pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He's somewhere in Jerusalem. A sandstorm opens a cavern to a cave that's been closed for years. I guess
do.
Yeah, it's not the most unbelievable thing, I suppose. It was enough for me. I'm like, okay, cool. Because that's sort of the thing. That's one of the hardest things about doing a vampire story, and from what I've noticed is that like, okay, well, how long have vampires existed? Have they always existed? Do people know about them? Those sort of questions. Buffy and Angel try to do vampires exist, but most people don't know. And then if you watch enough of the show, you go, that doesn't make any sense, guys. But okay, you just kind of have to swallow that this is all still remained a secret, even though it makes very little sense. It's just like that's just what you have to accept, and you go, okay, that's fine, I guess. Whereas Midnight Mass, it's like vampires existed. The implication is the vampires existed in the olden days, and that they haven't for a long time, and one is unearthed from like a tomb essentially. And so that's kind of interesting, because then you can have scenes where characters don't know what they're dealing with, or like I've always been kind of interested in the sort of things that stories wherein vampires have always existed and everyone just knows about it. Like people don't seem to go that route as often, but I'd be more interested in more things exploring that as an angle.
Yeah, definitely. Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass. Who's the guy behind that? I'm forgetting it. Blanking on his name now.
Flanagan.
Mike Flanagan. He's joined. I'm pretty sure. Prime Video, Amazon. I'm pretty sure he's doing the shows for them now. What was his latest one? Midnight Club.
Yeah, I didn't see Midnight Club.
I didn't either.
One as well. No one talked about that one, or not. People didn't talk about it as much anyway.
Definitely, and I'm pretty sure he.
Usher, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he kind of released. There was going to be more episodes to it, and he just essentially, okay, this is the synopsis for what I was going to do, blah blah blah. Essentially, I'm probably not going to do
yeah,
it.
I
So
did hear
here it
that.
is.
That he had planned other seasons and Netflix didn't pick it up. So he's like, well,
yeah.
here's what I was gonna do for all the fans. It's interesting.
That's a good thing to do, I reckon. I wish
I think so. Yeah.
something like that could be done maybe for Mindhunter if we're never getting a season 3.
Well, interesting thing about that. I mean, I
Mhm.
am very sad that we'll never get any more Mindhunter. I quite love that show. Once I sort of came to terms with the fact that we're never going to get any more, I've just accepted that at this point in my life. I got the book that it's based on. The book is called
Really?
Mindhunter as well. So
Okay.
it's not quite, the book isn't written like a story, right? It's a guy talking about his work. So, the Holden's character, I can't remember his real name. I have the book over here on my shelf. Anyway, the guy he's based on, is one of the fathers of, God, I'm blanking all these words, like sort of criminal psychology at the CIA, all that sort of stuff. Very influential guy, helping track down serial killers and all that sort of stuff. He wrote a book about some of the most high profile cases he's had and his approach and stuff like that. So if you read the book, it's very, very good. And I do think you could guess at what we might have done in the next couple seasons. There's a couple high profile cases he talks about. I'm like, ooh, that would have been a cool one. There's one about a guy real life person who lived in Alaska, and he would kidnap prostitutes, and then he had this giant estate where he would just set them free and then hunt them down like he was a hunter and they were wild prey. And I'm like, that would have been a kind of crazy direction to go with season 3. Anyway, it's a very interesting book. Definitely, if you're like me and you lament that we'll never get any more Mindhunter, that's a decent place to start to sort of scratch that itch. It's a very good book.
Okay. If I get back smoothly into reading again, I'll definitely grab it. That might be that's probably a good idea. It's just I've been lazy. I've been lazy with reading, I guess.
All right.
Podcasts and audiobooks have taken over essentially. Like literally, I cannot go anywhere or eat anything without listening to something.
Do you have
not that it's
Audible?
a bad thing, but yeah, I do have Audible. Yeah,
I wonder if there's an Audible version of Mindhunter.
There probably is. There might be. Yeah, I'll definitely add it to the list as the meme goes. I guess that'll be all for the this segment. Let's say we'll get into the news portion. Where did I have the clip? There we go. Okay, so in this segment, we essentially cover all the pop culture news. It's been a little dead in terms of movie news and whatnot. But essentially, I have been away for like 2 weeks, and I've been trying to essentially catch up on stuff. And the most recent big news, I guess, would be Blue Beetle essentially making no money. And
who could have seen that coming? Now, I've heard that it's like okay, but like as compared to some of the worst of Marvel Phase 4 and 5, that it might actually, in comparison, be okay. I haven't seen it, but even still, even if it is just okay and a bit better than some of the worst slop we've had in the last year or so, that doesn't make me want to watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd have to hear honestly that it's really good to care at all about Blue Beetle.
Exactly.
And I definitely haven't heard that.
Yeah. This thing is like, I'm pretty sure Shazam 2 made 30. This made 25, so that's definitely not a good sign.
Opening weekend, you mean?
Yeah, opening weekend. This is the opening
that's
weekend.
Not good.
I'm pretty sure I've read somewhere that Morbius apparently made more, so yeah, there's a sign that you're in trouble. This is like another freaking DC failure on their part. So you've got Shazam 2, you've got The Flash, now you have Blue Beetle, and you also have Aquaman 2 this year. That's going to be a doozy. I don't know if that's going to make
Forgetting
any money.
that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
You reckon they
Aquaman.
still think that will do well for them? Because the first one made over $1 billion.
Exactly. I have no idea how. I don't know how Aquaman 1 made billion. The theory is women audience, they love wet, shirtless Jason Momoa. That's the working theory
Yeah,
essentially.
that's
That's
the
how the
only
movie
reason.
made.
It did. I think. I mean, it didn't look interesting to me when the trailers came out, but I think some people probably thought it looked fun.
Mhm.
In a way that a lot of the
Kind of
DC
like a
movies
Transformer movie.
that
Yeah.
preceded it were not fun. So especially all there's lots of crazy, very fisheye, wide angle lenses in the action scenes and all sorts of strange things. James Wan is nothing if not inventive, I suppose.
Yeah, Blue Peter was fine, isn't it? It can be fine all at once. It's not doing fine in the box office run of things, and that's, I think, James Gunn's main concern. I mean, these movies, like, I guess, kind of like the audience subconscious knows these movies don't really matter. Your Aquaman 2, your Flash, essentially, they don't really
Yeah.
matter. It's all going to get rebooted anyway.
That was such an awful decision. It strikes me as such an awful decision to basically announce. I mean, they've tried to say like, oh, they tried to say everything, but this one won't matter because it won't affect anything going forward. But everyone seems to know that. Everyone seems to intuit that. Obviously, if it did make $1 billion, they'd change their minds. But it's not going to because everyone realizes that we're all just waiting for Superman Legacy, essentially, because that's the only thing that'll change anything. Are you excited or optimistic at all about Superman Legacy?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch Superman Legacy. Out of all the DC movies, that's the one movie I'll watch. And from then on, I guess I'll decide whether I want to watch the Batman movie. The Batman movie with Andy Muschietti, I think, directing. With
That's the
Robin.
one where the same guy who did the Flash, right?
Yeah.
That's promising.
I think James Gunn did. He felt sorry for him, and okay, I gave you this shitbag of a movie that's been cut to 1,000 pieces. Let me make it up to you, and give you a movie worth making, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna see Superman Legacy when it comes out. I think part of the only reason I'm interested is because of how much I hate Man of Steel. Because honestly, I think I didn't grow up reading comic books, so I was never super emotionally attached to Superman as a character. But then seeing Man of Steel for the first time, I felt those fans' pain because, man, I think, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic here, I think Man of Steel is like a crime against the American spirit.
Wow. Okay.
And I mean that because I think Superman is something like the only real national heroic figure.
Truth, justice, and the American way. Yeah.
We don't really have anyone else, because what it means to be American is such a fractured thing because we're such a massive country with all these different cultures in it and all that sort of stuff, that like Superman was kind of like one of very few, if not the only, national symbols. And I just think what they did to him in Man of Steel is just horrendous. I really hate it. So I'm hoping that Superman Legacy will at least do justice to the spirit of what the character is supposed to be. I don't have high hopes that the movie will be amazing. But if it's just all right, but they nail Superman as a character, that'll be enough for me.
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure Peter Safran said something like, this Superman is going to be someone who appreciates and does kindness in a world that thinks kindness is old-fashioned. And like that right there, okay, that sounds great. Really
better.
Keen to
that's for damn sure.
Yeah, really keen to see what's going on, because always the easy way is to make Superman edgy, have the moral story of ultimate power corrupts always and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
I'm just so bored by evil Superman. And it's, I guess, in a way, writers find it challenging to write a good Superman, someone who's kind-hearted, someone who's patriotic, someone who's, the stereotypical scout boy. But I think good, if it's a challenge to write, get to the challenge essentially. But no, Zack Snyder just went, I think, the easy route. Before I go on to Zack Snyder,
very cynical route, I would say.
Yeah.
I really don't, because it's not so much that Superman is out and out evil in Man of Steel. It's that like he's conflicted
Depressed.
about very basic things, and I think one of the most egregious things is the like Krypton had its chance moment, where he just he uses his laser eyes to abort a bunch of Kryptonian babies. That's what happens. He just destroys.
First watch through, I did not catch that whatsoever. It's only when I was watching.
Happens very quick. Quick. And we just like breeze right past it, and then he's conflicted about killing Zod of all people. It's just a mess. And one of the first big scenes we have from him is him like handling that drunk guy in the bar in the most like passive aggressive, petty, and over the top way possible, where he like for lack of a better term, crucifies that guy's truck for being rude to a waitress. It's like, really?
That is so out of character for Superman.
It's wild. Don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no good.
Good fight scenes, but that's it. That's when I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, cool fight scenes. And then you kind of missed. Oh, hang on, he committed genocide in this little scene. Oh, oh,
the small little details, right? I have the feeling, if I were to make a prediction here, though no one's asked me to, I will anyway, that Superman Legacy will get the character right or better, if not perfect. The plot will be kind of a mess, if not a huge mess. And some of the jokes, there'll probably be a few too many jokes, some of which that don't work, but some that do. And overall, people will like it, even if the writing has some problems, because at least Superman was better. And
it's going to be like the Suicide Squad, essentially. Good character.
Yeah, or like Guardians 3, which, people seem to. I really liked it at first. I don't know if you watched the EFAP about that.
I've watched all of it. All of it.
I mean, I went into that thinking it was pretty good, and I came out thinking it wasn't very good, except for the the rocket flashback stuff. I still think that stuff holds up pretty well.
Yeah. I was, to me, it was like on a roller coaster ride. Like, you was on the edge of your seat, tear in your eye. It was just like, good God, this is so deep. And then you get like Gamora and Drax that I absolutely hate. And it's just like high and low, and it's just like, how about you focus on one track here? I'd love to essentially get a Rocket movie by itself. But yeah, I think I had higher expectations for it, but overall I thought it was some character stuff in it was great, and same with Suicide Squad. So I'm pretty sure.
I have the feeling it'll be about on par with those. I think that's the best we could hope for. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Lex Luthor is going to be in it as well. So we're definitely going to get a bit like Lex Luthor than Jesse Eisenberg. So there's that.
It's a strange phenomenon in this movie, because it's I feel like it's the most reported on movie that is not even in production yet. I've never seen a movie. You get news articles about casting decisions for highly anticipated things, but like I remember there were news articles for when they announced that they were going to start having casting meetings. They haven't even cast anyone yet. We've announced that they've started having casting calls. That's wild. There's just so much attention on this movie, and I really think that this movie really needs to knock it out of the park. Or the DCEU, or sorry, the DCU is
DCU. That's
toast,
weird,
man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got to be. It's got to be. It can't just be okay. Because if I mean, it might be, it might not be, but if Blue Beetle is fine and no one cares, like Superman Legacy needs to be a whole lot better than fine, or else their prospects are not looking good. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure there's like. You've got Nathan Fillion, Guy Gardner, and Green Lantern. So there's some other stuff to attract you in there. You've also got Superman. We haven't got a Superman movie in a long while. So I'm guessing that's going to be more recognizable, more popular, get people to actually see
Definitely
it
more
rather
than
than
Blue Beetle.
yeah, or Shazam 2. I'm of the opinion they should have had Black Adam's The Rock in Shazam 2. Them
Well, that
just
was the
inventing
original
new
plan.
villains was stupid. I just thought, what are these old three ladies doing here? It's just why
That
are you
was the
making
original plan, because I remember when they were both in pre. So yeah, as you mentioned before, there's a lot of movies are shot in Atlanta. So I have friends who work in the industry and stuff like that. I've done some work on some of these films, not any DC movies, but some other films that shoot here. And so you hear a lot about stuff in pre-production stages. You hear like, oh, they're making this movie because like they started Shazam 2. They started crewing up for Shazam 2 before they did Black Adam. And then Black Adam came out way before. And I'm sure someone out there who's been following this more closely than I have might have an idea of why that happened. But it was supposed to be Shazam 2, then Black Adam, and then they switched it. I don't know why that happened. Do you know why that happened?
I think The Rock did say something that he wanted his own movie first and he didn't want to be in a Shazam movie.
Got the ego on that guy. My goodness.
But I heard that thing, and then he said something else. Like, okay, that justifies it a little, but I've completely forgotten it. I don't know. The way he said something, it made sense, but I'm still of the opinion that he should have been in there. If for whatever reason you need something more in a Shazam 2, you can't just because the first one was a risk, right? It was something new that the audience haven't seen. You have to kind of step it up a notch in the sequel, and I don't feel like they did that. They just made literally another movie and just hope for the best. I mean, you can't really do that. You could see, like, for the example of, Thor 1 and Thor 2. With Thor 3, they kind of took a risk, and, let's get Hulk in there. And in terms of box office, I think that was actually a good decision. And I thought
definitely, yeah,
they should have done something like that with Shazam 2. Whether if you can't get Black Adam, I mean, get someone else, I guess.
It's interesting that Thor Ragnarok was like exactly the right risks at the right time in a way that the MCU really hasn't nailed since, really, in terms of like, I mean, it's debatable, but what I'm saying is that like this, when Thor Ragnarok came out, this was right around the time where it was becoming the popular opinion that the MCU movies were kind of visually drab and stale, and Thor Ragnarok was fun and colorful and silly, in ways that the movie's kind of a little bit of a tonal mess, but did breathe some life into the character that desperately needed it. And I guess maybe other than Infinity War, I don't think they've taken a risk that worked since. That's how I feel.
Definitely.
They took the right risk at the right time anyway.
Cap, by the way, before we move on to the next news topic, which one of these are you more excited for, I guess? Aquaman 2 or the Marvels, essentially? Coming out this year.
It's going to have to be Aquaman 2 because I don't think you could pay me to see the Marvels. Aquaman 2, I mean, I thought Aquaman 1 wasn't even especially fun bad, except for a couple moments, but I absolutely have negative interest in seeing the Marvels, so it's going to have to be Aquaman.
The thing is, it's depressing to think about that we've got 2 more superhero films this year and a freaking another MCU show, Agatha Covered of Chaos, and it's going to be 9 episodes.
This year?
It says 2023. I have no idea whether they've delayed it or not. Man. But on Google says 2023.
Spin-off.
Pointless, really. 9 episodes. Yeah, that's 9 episodes too much. This should never be a thing.
Doesn't it feel a bit like the people who worked on WandaVision really liked working with this actress? So they're like, let's give you a show, even though no one who watched it cared for, like, wanted to see that. So it seems to me, I didn't,
Oh, yeah. On that note, it's Echo as well. I don't know when that's coming out.
That's the depth
I'm pretty sure
right?
that. Yeah. She has a cool design from what I see in the comics, kind of like a white handprint, and then she's kind of like a ninja, but in the live action, she looks terrible. Like I don't mean to call the actress ugly, but she's not that appealing, to be honest. But I don't know.
So the handprint's kind of neat.
Yeah,
I'm
they don't
looking
have it. They don't have it in the live action show. Why not? You know.
That's odd. That's the only sort of visually identifiable
Mhm.
aspect of the character, from what I can see, and they didn't keep
Mhm.
that. That's odd.
Weird.
Why would you lose that? It's like the one. I don't know. Strange.
I've heard they're releasing that show all at once, essentially not doing the weekly stuff. Curious to see whether they'll do that with Agatha too. I can't say that. Agatha. Yeah, I'm saying it right. Agatha.
I think it's Agatha.
I'm not. I'm actually Polish, so that's my excuse for bad English. There. So yeah. We were talking about Marvels before, and I found this tidbit of information interesting. This is what I missed during my when I was away. The Marvel's director Nina DaCosta is aiming to combat superhero fatigue. Oh, how swell! That sounds lovely. How is she going to do that? I wonder. The biggest difference from the other MCU movies to date is that it's really wacky and silly. And I was like thinking, okay,
That's hilarious.
let's give it a chance. Maybe the article kind of I got to the official article, and here is the full-on quote. Yeah, so the biggest difference from the other MCU movie to date is really wacky and silly. Blah, 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 blah. So that's a full quote.
I think it cannot be overstated how funny that is, because so she acknowledges that there's superhero movie fatigue, and she thinks, what clearly what's going to separate ours from the pack is that ours is going to be silly and lighthearted, and we're not going to take anything seriously. You know, it's funny because there's lots of evidence from the writing of the movies that these writers have not seen the other movies in the universe that they're operating in, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, as a quick side note, when Mahler convinced me to watch Ant-Man Quantumania, I said, I haven't seen the other Ant-Man movies. And he said, it's okay, neither have the writers. So, you know,
it's not true.
It's very true. And so it's obvious, I think, from watching them, that they have not seen the other movies, right? But that quote just makes it so like explicit that she hasn't seen the other ones. Because if she had seen Thor: Love and Thunder, she wouldn't have said, oh, what's going to set ours apart? And people won't be tired of superhero movies anymore because ours is going to be different. You see, ours is going to be really silly
and wacky.
Even Multiverse of Madness is got quite a few silly lull moments in it. That's so funny. It's hysterical.
Captain Marvel was kind of silly, to be honest. Not in the way that she means, but it was silly. But yeah, I guess it was serious in their mind. I'm just like stunned by that quote. Like, you work at MCU. The constant critique is the constant jokes. Like, do you even know where you work at? Essentially,
it's kind of funny because that if she's aware of the superhero movie fatigue criticism, then no doubt she's heard the Marvel humor critique, right? I don't know how you've gone this long without hearing that. So it's
didn't you get the memo?
What people are really tired of is that we take everything too seriously over here. That's funny.
Definitely.
Well, best of luck to her. Wish her all the best.
Oh boy. The only thing I like about it, the only thing I'll compliment about the Marvels, I like the Miss Marvel actress, Iman Vellani. She seems like a genuine nerd. I'm pretty sure she called out Kevin Feige because Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, don't know if you had the pleasure of watching that. They called their universe the 616.
Okay.
Iman Vellani essentially called them out. No. 616 is the main comic continuity. That's not the live action MCU continuity. The live action MCU continuity has a different multiverse number.
So she knows her shit, essentially.
Yeah, she knows her shit, essentially. It's a shame she's playing a popular character like Miss Marvel, but she doesn't seem insufferable like Brie Larson, for instance. So
most of the actors in these movies seem like nice people. You wonder why they don't exercise a bit more because some of these actors, especially Benedict Cumberbatch and all these other
Mhm.
people, you'd think they'd have a bit more leverage to be like, hey,
Mhm.
been playing this character now for something like 7 years. I don't know if my character would do this, and that they'd have some sort of pull,
Yeah,
But it doesn't
definitely.
seem like, if they care at all, they exercise that leverage, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Remains to be seen, I guess. I'm pretty sure they did say something to what's his name, the guy who played Kang. I'm blanking on his name now.
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure back in when Quantumania was first released, I'm pretty sure Kevin said, "Oh, we'll have his he'll have his say on what to do with Kang in his movie Avengers 5 or whatnot." I can't remember the name of the Secret Wars, and there's one before it.
Secret Wars. Okay, yeah.
There's Secret Wars, and there's one before it, something Kang.
Kang Dynasty.
Okay, there we go.
Really funny, especially if they're gonna not use him anymore. They've built so much of their plans around Kang. They've even named one of their future movies after him. So that's kind of funny. I don't know how you're gonna get out of that, but we'll see. It's interesting that they give him, of all people, like, oh, you get kind of free reign to decide what we do with your story. They don't seem to give that to everyone else. Or maybe they do, and some of these actors just don't care. I'm not really sure.
I'm pretty sure they removed him from all the Disney Plus promotional material for Ant-Man, essentially.
Interesting.
So that's not an encouraging thought, but
no.
I did hear the last court news I heard. Apparently, there was some good news, but yeah, it's still undecided as to what's going to happen to him. So I guess it remains to be seen. I think we've only got like the last piece of news. I don't know if you would know anything about this, but we do have some suggestions that there's going to be another God of War style game. Essentially, what it says here is there's been a job posting on PlayStation Careers of someone who is knowledgeable on combat design on the previous 2 games. And I'm wondering, is that going to be essentially a Kratos game or a Atreus game? I'd still be very interested in seeing Kratos fight some other mythologies, because right now he's only fought Romans and then the Viking gods. So I'd be very interested to see, the world expanded, have him fight Egyptian gods and then.
Yeah, I think I remember. See, I haven't played any of these games, but I did listen to the EFAP covering it, and they talked a bit about how they'd love to see him sort of fighting the Egyptian pantheon and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of material there for the writing. That'd be cool.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I'm a little worried because Kratos is getting kind of old, and how long can he chug it up essentially to slaughter the Egyptian pantheon? So I always thought kind of like maybe you could do something like in between of maybe him going from Greece to the Egyptians and then to Vikings, because his kind of adventure in the Viking era kind of thing, it seems kind of a nice conclusion. So kind of feels a little, if we add the Egyptian things afterwards, it feels a bit of a, as if you're prolonging it unnecessarily. Because he's getting old. There's some lines in there in the game, I'm pretty sure, that he's getting slower and stuff like that in his combat and whatnot. So I'm not entirely sure whether they should go that route.
Is it Atreus? Is that his name? Do you think they'd have him, carry the torch for future games?
All right. Imagine I'm the normie. I'm not gonna buy a Atreus game. I'm gonna buy a Kratos slaughtering some gods. That at the end of the day, that's what I'm here for.
That's fair. I know nothing really about these games. Never played them, but all I know is that he's sort of like it's his son, right?
Yeah. And he's Loki apparently. So it remains to be seen. I'm remaining optimistic. Okay, so I think that'll be all in terms of the news topics. I guess we'll get to our one and final topic, which is pitch me a story. I'll roll the clip.
love the Shining clips. It's one of my favorite movies. One of the best movies about how not to write as a writer. Really good advice about how not to go about writing in that movie.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. I don't think I've watched it in its
What?
entirety, unfortunately.
What?
So,
It's really good.
sorry.
Okay. It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay. Would you like to hear something else you'll absolutely hate me for?
Sure. I feel like you're going to tell me anyway, so go for it.
I've not watched the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy.
You've seen the theatrical ones, but you haven't seen the extended edition.
I've seen only a part of Fellowship.
Oh,
like maybe the
well,
first.
I'm not going to hate you for that personally because
Oh, thank God.
I'm not the Lord of the Rings super
Okay.
fan that some people are. I think they're great. I really like them, but I'm not. They're not the thing that's going to get my blood boiling if you refuse to see it.
Okay.
Shining is really good.
It's
though.
not that. Yeah. Okay. I'll see Shining someday. I don't know. The Stephen Hawking movies. I mean, I've heard.
Movies. What are you talking about? You're talking about Stephen King. I don't know if Stephen Hawking wrote any movies. He might have.
There's the biopic movies. So that's what I meant. Yeah. Stephen Hawking. Oh God.
Now I'm picturing like an audio book done by Stephen Hawking of like Stephen King's skit or something like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. That's just like in the voice of Siri, I guess. Right in that kind of deadpan voice. Yeah, I remember one of my siblings watched Pet Sematary. He said it was crap, the kind of crap that is just you don't want to watch it.
Never seen it, so who knows? I mean, I don't love The Shining because of Stephen King. I love The Shining because of Stanley Kubrick, essentially.
Okay.
I think if I understand correctly, Stephen King hates Stanley Kubrick's
I've heard that
adaptation of The Shining, and he's wrong because it's great.
It's don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of movies, but there's just one or two things that I've and
right.
I guess I don't bother to watch this.
I'm sure I have some gaps that other people would be amazed by as well.
Yeah. I'll definitely need to get on Lord of the Rings at some point. I want to watch the extended versions, all of them. I've seen the Hobbit trilogy and I've read the Hobbit book. I love the Hobbit book. I've yet to read the Lord of the Rings books. It's sitting on my shelf, just never picking it up. I guess as soon as I got to like a portion about trees singing, I'm like, "What the hell is this?" And just put it down.
That is the complaint I've heard about the books. I have not read them. I've seen the movies, but I haven't. The complaint seems to be that he spends an awful lot of time describing the landscape. Which is fine. That's what he's interested in.
Yeah, I guess. I guess you need to check for it, kind of like with what I'm doing now with A Name of the Wind. But yeah, I guess if you'd like to get something to write on.
I gotta actually write things down. Okay, hold on.
If you'd like to, or you can just do it, if it helps. Would you like to start first? Essentially, I'll spin.
Well, I don't know how this goes, so if you want to go first, then you can show me how it's done.
Okay, so essentially, we all pitch. Both of us pitch like a short story.
Okay.
Imagine if we're like pitching it to some studio or stuff like that.
Yes.
And essentially, there's a wheel that decides your genre. Essentially, we've got all the ones here. Then we have a different wheel because obviously it can't be a original story. It has to be. Hang on, I've got the wrong wheel. This is the ESG wheel, by the way. So it has to have.
It's got to have the
feminism.
Okay, I
racism, violence. I've had another one somewhere where it's
fat body pus. All right, yeah. No, I'm down. I get it. I'm hip.
I had another wheel where it's IPs. Hang on. Oh, damn it. I've lost it now. Okay. So there was another wheel. I'm just going to quickly do it again.
That's right.
Where I have, because it can't be a original idea.
No, of course
it has
not.
to.
It's got to have market awareness and
exactly.
brand recognition, or else it's not going to make any money.
So I've basically put in a bunch of IPs. TMNT, and then let's say Harry. I need to get these saved somewhere because right. So yeah, here's the IP wheel. So we have Star Wars, Lord of the
Right.
Rings, Marvel, DC, TMNT, and Harry Potter. I think those are like the top 5-ish, like best-selling things. So can't be original idea.
And yeah, that's I wouldn't have put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on that list, but the new one did remind me just how many of these things there have been. So many
Yeah.
shows and movies, and a lot of the main
It
hit
is.
ones for kids, but that's cool.
TMNT is a fascinating IP because it's an indie comic. It sells a shit ton of toys, like a crazy amount. It wasn't associated like with Marvel or DC or any of the big names. It was just a thing by itself, and it was turned into something so successful with such a roster of villains as well. I just find it fascinating how it essentially expanded into its own thing and its own little corner. Essentially,
Have you seen the new movie? I have not.
I have not. I've know some people that have seen it and they weren't impressed. Seth Rogen's involved, so.
Yeah, well, I guess it depends on how involved he is. He was in The Fablemans, and he was actually pretty good in that. But
I've seen The Fablemans, so
yeah, I like that movie. It's a good movie. All right,
yeah,
so
it's
if you want to just spin away, you can go, and then I can
I guess I
lead
will.
by example.
Okay, so let me just share the genre wheel. Okay,
Look at it go! What a good spin. Horror, your favorite.
the irony of gay horror that's kind of funny. Okay, interesting horror. Okay, type it in. Now, what thing does it need to be based on? I think this is how real writers do it. By the way, they spin a wheel and kind of decide.
Yeah, every writer's room has 3, Wheel of Misfortune style wheels. Yeah,
because they don't sound like they know anything about the IP. For instance, I don't know anything about Harry Potter, and I know a bit
when
about
has that
TMNT,
ever
but not
stopped anybody?
yeah. Okay, so the IP franchise is Marvel. Okay,
All right.
that's something I know a lot about.
All right.
Okay, interesting. A
Really
horror
quick
Marvel
before you continue, have you watched? I know it's because I know it came out, but I don't know anyone that's talked about it. That I believe it's not like a full feature film. The werewolf thing. What was that called? Werewolf by Night. Is that what it's called?
I've heard of that. Didn't bother to watch it.
Yeah,
Did you?
I think I was mildly interested because it seemed weird and strange and disconnected from the rest of what they do. But then I heard it wasn't even a full movie, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
anyway, just curious if anyone
Disney
actually
Plus.
watched it.
Yeah, it's a Disney Plus, and I was like, I can't bother getting on some website to watch it. Too much effort.
So assuming that wasn't a horror thing, you have an opportunity to do some cool horror stuff in Marvel.
I don't think they've, apart from that show, I don't think they've ever done anything like big
No,
horror.
not straight ahead horror. Definitely not. There's been little moments, little. Anyway,
And by the way, did you hear that the Blade movie is not even R-rated?
I did not hear that. No, it's not going to be R-rated.
It's not going to be R-rated.
Is your audio kind of scratchy, or is that just me? Is that just on my end?
That might be on your. I don't hear anything about my audio scratching. Okay.
Okay.
Is that better?
Anyway, I mean,
Okay.
it sounds fine to me now. Yeah, it was getting a little scratchy for a second, but maybe it's just me. Anyway, continue. Blade. Yeah, Blade probably should be R-rated, but okay, that's fine.
That to me is a incredibly red flag. I mean, if it's a Blade movie, there's going to be a lot of blood, and I don't see how you do that. How you skip around that?
I can't wait for them to do
fake blood.
Was it Black Panther where someone's throat gets slit and no blood comes out? Is that?
Oh really? Oh yeah.
Was that Black Panther? I think it's Black Panther. I think Black Panther was PG-13, and someone's throat gets slit, and we don't see any blood come out. That's going to be like all of Blade. That'll be fun. All right, what's the last category here?
Okay, the ESG wheel. Right. I'm pretty sure I always forget a sixth one. I need to save these essentially. Racism. Okay, fascinating. All
Well,
right.
Get Out's right there. You could just crib from Get Out. There you go.
Oh, that's a fantastic idea. Just
You're
more Get
welcome.
Out with some sort of horror movie Marvel character. Damn it, that's gonna be different. Okay, actually, I could just make a Blade movie. Just make that about racism.
So do I
Easy.
play the part of the executive that you're pitching to? Is that how it goes?
Usually, I spin the wheels for you as well, and
Oh,
then
okay.
it kind of,
I see.
and then I play kind of like a countdown, just so we have some time to write our thoughts down.
All right.
And
I'm
yeah,
hip. Let's do it.
and then we pitch the
Spin the
story.
wheel.
Okay.
Baby. Let's do it.
Okay, so wait, hang on. Mine was horror, Marvel, and racism.
Yes.
Okay.
A winning combination, yes.
All right, your genre cap will be action adventure.
Action adventure. Okay. If
Interesting.
it's action adventure Marvel, then it's just gonna be standard. All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Action adventure. Okay.
All right, and then your IP franchise is
Harry Potter. Okay. All right.
Do you know anything about Harry Potter?
I've seen the movies, all of them at
Okay.
least once, so I have a gist for the Harry
Okay,
Potter.
so you're in a better
experience.
position. I got Harry Potter last time, and I was absolutely clueless as to what to write. So I've not seen any of the Harry Potter films. So I guess sometimes writers get IPs they know nothing about.
It's true.
I heard
more often than we'd like. Yes.
Yeah, for the Witcher show, I'm pretty sure one of the directors or producers said that the writers actively hated the books.
I did hear some of that.
You know.
It does make you wonder how they got the gig. But
Yeah, and
I guess
as a Polish person who really much so respects the Witcher books, I was just furious about that. But hey,
I understand that. I probably
it's
would
national
be too.
of patriotic pride.
Yeah, but seriously, a lot of these things are,
Mhm.
All
Okay,
right, let's do it. What's my theme? What's my message? What am I trying to fix in the world with my action environmentalism?
Okay, so don't chop down the trees. Oh no, Cap, don't do it.
The Lorax with guns in Harry Potter. Okay.
Okay, let me just get the countdown.
And I'm pitching a feature film in a sort of short elevator pitch. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the general idea. Okay, so
I was like 20 minutes.
I don't know
how. Goodness.
don't worry, it won't be 20 minutes. Like it's not that kind of movie. I guess we could go for like 3:30. That should be enough, right?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Okay.
Okay. I can't
So
get it.
Are we gonna sit in silence while we do it?
Oh, we can chat as well. I can play some background music as well.
Okay, let's see. Action adventure, Harry Potter. So let's see. So I'm thinking I'm gonna narrate my thoughts.
Okay.
And you're just gonna have to deal with it. You can play the music if you want to, but I'm just gonna think out loud.
I just don't want it to be too loud. That's what I'm trying to do.
All right. So obviously Harry Potter movies are already adventure films. So where we could really, shake things up is if we focused on the action. I think if this was something more like a John Wick type film in the Harry Potter universe, that'd give the people something a little different, So like
definitely.
Wizard Assassins. All right, we got Wizard Assassins.
Okay, so I'm thinking of just getting, and I know mine should be about Blades because racism. That's a clear way to go. If I'm struggling on the start, I guess writer's block. It's when it doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna turn the music off because it's
distracting you.
It's glitching out for me. I don't know why.
Okay.
It's kind of like but. Okay, So, well, I mean, he kills vampires, so I guess that's as good a start any. I guess we better sell it with that environmentalism, man. We're chopping down trees. That's all I know
No,
about.
none of that. We wouldn't want that.
I remember there being like a movie about fairies and there's some evil ghost that chops down trees. I can't remember that movie. What it was about, like an animated kids movie. If anyone in the chat can help me out, maybe they'll remember that name. It was like the ultimate environmentalist kids movie.
You're talking about the Lorax.
No. It's something else. It was kind of like a fairy in it, like dressed in red and had wings, and there was some kind of guy who was kind of like some sort of worker who cut down trees, and he got like strength to that down to the size of a fairy as well.
No
I can't remember the
idea.
name. And I'll Google it. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my page. There's definitely the horror element is definitely difficult.
You said you're going with
Right.
Blade. That seems
Yeah.
almost like the easy way out. I feel like you'd want to go something like, well, I won't tell you how to write.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. And you think of other characters you could include racism with? Geez.
Who did they pass the torch to in the Black Panther world?
Killmonger.
What's her name?
Oh, Shuri. Namor.
Yeah, there you go.
Shuri. Okay. How would
She
they make that horror? Okay. Okay, I think I've got something. Oh, okay. I've just thought of a brilliant idea.
Is your pitch going to include? Well, I guess you're using established characters, so you don't need to think about casting. Mine, should I? Important part of the pitch is who's going to play the character. So okay, well, I gotta.
You can definitely use like characters like Harry Potter and whatnot just to make it. I mean, all writers do it. You know, they can't make up their own characters. They have to make something based on something. Otherwise, no one's going to get it. That's the idea, right?
Sorry if you can hear my dog barking in the background.
No worries. What breed do you have?
He is a pit bull boxer mix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a good boy. We like him. His name is Rupert. I named him after Giles.
Oh, that's adorable. By the way, how much time do we have? I have not checked that. Oh,
we have
50
52
seconds.
seconds.
Oh, no. I've not written down.
Oh, God.
I've written
Okay,
down the sentence.
Okay, well, I'm definitely gonna.
You know what? I'm
fly by
just
the
got.
seat of my pants here.
Usually, I improvise the ending. On the last time, that's okay.
Do you watch those pitch meeting videos?
Yes,
that guy Ryan George. Yeah, those are pretty fun.
It's brilliant. Those are really good. Okay, I'm gonna improvise the ending because I'm clueless. Okay.
All right.
Oh, okay. There's someone in the chat help me out. You're thinking of Fern Gully. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I have heard of that. Yes. Thank you, Nathaniel
Okay.
Perry, doing the Lord's work.
Yeah. I knew I was
go
thinking
first.
of something. So. Yes. Okay. I'll
I don't mind going
I'll
first.
somehow, I'll go first. No worries. Even though I've not finished and one, not. But you know what? I'll improvise. So my movie is centered around Blade. He's casually killing vampires in the streets like you do, But one day he gets like knocked out unconscious, right? And essentially he ends up in one of these little towns that's kind of like a white supremacist town, essentially. You've got the people dressed in white with hoods essentially everywhere, and the vampires have essentially teamed up with them. They've made a kind of a coalition. So the other black folk of around essentially help out Blade, hide them away, essentially. And together they kind of take everyone out, kind of Die Hard style, one by one. They take out all like the clan members. And with Blade being in the streets, getting some street cred, essentially, the sequel essentially is going to be Blade takes on racist cops. So that was my movie pitch.
Not bad. Question for you: did people in the chat was that audio scratchy for you? Because it was for me. I think it might be StreamYards. I don't know if the stream is scratchy. Hold on, just a minute. How do you hold on just a second. Let me just listen.
You go on settings, and then you've got on audio, and then you have your settings there, essentially. If that helps out.
Yeah, it sounded kind of scratchy to me listening back to the stream. I don't know if anyone in the chat.
No.
So I caught about half of your pitch.
Okay.
Personally, I don't know if it was like a bandwidth thing there.
Okay. Okay. Where did I lose you?
Well, if you want to start from the top, that would be good, and I will interrupt you if it starts being really scratchy again.
All right. So, Blade, essentially, keeps on
already going scratchy.
Nice.
I don't know what it is.
Damn it. All right. I've removed the countdown, so that should help. Don't know what else.
Is it that StreamYard is overburdened by things, or
I'm not sure. I'm plugged in. So
sound fine for the moment.
Okay, so hang on. Testing. Is it scratchy now?
Sounds fine to me.
You know what? Maybe I'll delete.
Oh, it just got a little scratchy again.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to close all my windows. Screw the writing program. Maybe that's what's doing it. Okay, so I'll pitch it like this. Without any words in front of me. Thanks for that, StreamYard. Let me know if I sound okay.
Sound all right for now.
So, okay. I'll carry on until it works. So essentially, I've got Blade fighting in the streets, and he's fighting vampires in the modern day, and a portal opens, and he goes through it, and he's transported to like the 80s or 90s or whatever, and he's kind of trapped in a thingy white supremacist town, essentially, with clan members everywhere.
In the 80s and 90s? Perfect.
I don't.
You might think, well, what you might think. No, actually, that's good, and I'll tell you why that's good for your ESG score. So you might think something like the 50s, right? But that would play into the idea that racism is over now. So the later it is, the better, because then we can act like racism is always still as bad as it has always been.
I don't know my American history.
That would be better for your ESG score. No, I'm on your side here. It's gonna win you more points. All right, so time travels back to the 80s or 90s where everything was horribly racist. Yes.
And he realizes that the people behind like the clan member stuff are actual vampires, essentially.
Okay.
So he teams up with the street gangs to take them out like one by one.
Okay.
Die Hard style, essentially.
So it's like an action horror type thing. But that makes sense. Marvel, they wouldn't just go full horror. They need some action scenes.
Yeah. And they take out the big bad guy at the end. And we get like a post-credit scene essentially of on police brutality, essentially. And we find out the vampires are also disguised as cops. So
So that's like a hook in for a sequel. It also
Mhm.
reminds everyone that there's still more work to be done. That's going to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
it for your score. All right, that's
I
good.
didn't make it too much horror related. I just noticed.
Well, I mean, there's going to be lots of
there's gonna be
horror,
gore and stuff
you
like
know,
that.
'cause there's vampires, right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
gore, and
So
you'll have scenes where horrible
you know,
things
because
happen.
yeah,
Sure.
because the white supremacists, so you can be as gory and as brutal to them as possible, essentially.
Yes,
So
and they need to be evil. So what they do to everyone is going to be,
Mhm.
the evil cranked up to 11.
exactly. Have you seen a movie called Sisu?
No, I've heard of it.
Okay.
Is that
I
the
recommend it. Yeah, it's
okay?
kind
Yeah,
of I don't
action
know if it's
adventure.
Swedish or something. I can't remember. But it's like John Wick and Nazis, essentially. That's the
Okay,
best way to describe it. Definitely like a very, very fun movie of like a gold miner trying to get his gold to a bank. And
mhm.
in the way is like a battalion of Nazis, and he has to get through them. And he's kind of like a commando of some sort, and he's an
All
expert
right.
in killing. So yeah,
And
that's
you
that's
fucked them
essentially what
up.
he
That
does.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'll check that out. All right. So here we have
Mhm.
a branch off from there's going to be a feature film. It's a branch
Mhm.
off from the Harry Potter universe, but it's going to be the Harry Potter universe like you've never seen it before. So this is going
Mhm.
to be a sort of gritty, like action thriller in the Harry
Okay.
Potter universe, and it's featuring different characters, none we've seen before, maybe a couple cameos from other famous people, just for the sake of having like, oh, I
Unacceptable
know
cap.
her,
Yeah.
she's
Why not
Marley
have why not
Farvador.
have Emma Watson or anyone like that?
Yeah,
Jeez.
Emma Watson, she's too busy doing UN stuff or whatever she does nowadays. So, all right, so wizards in the Harry Potter universe have
Mhm.
discovered that climate change is a thing, right?
Okay.
And they're very upset about it. They haven't been paying any attention to what do they call them, Muggle affairs, right?
Mhm.
They haven't been
It's
helping
called
out with any of
global
their.
boiling now, by the way. Get it right.
Oh,
Jeez.
it's a global boiling now. Is it a rolling
Yeah.
boil? Okay,
Mhm.
so they find out about climate change, and oh man, are they fighting mad about it? And then a
Mhm.
group of wizards and witches basically become eco terrorists, and they're going around the world, with their wizarding powers, and they're destroying coal power plants
Okay.
and all the
Okay.
sorts of things, lumber
Wait,
operation.
are they like destroying paintings as well for some stupid reason, like the Mona Lisa? They're just spraying paint on that, or you know.
It's maybe they
Okay.
start there and then they work up
Okay.
when they realize that's not enough, right? And
Unacceptable.
so all the very outward signs of things that are causing climate change, they're fighting mad about it, and they're killing a bunch of people, and they're really terrible. They're like the terrorists in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Right? Now, meanwhile, we have a main character. Oh, by the way, okay, so I think leader of this group of terrorist wizards and witches should be
Mhm.
Jennifer Lawrence, and
Perfect. That is
she's
okay.
gonna be
You've
the
got
head.
casting choices here. Okay,
No, we have
this is
casting choices.
brilliant.
Well, because you have your established characters. I think who's going to be in the new Blade? Is it Mahershala Ali? Is that his name?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so yeah. Meanwhile, our main character is not actually one of the eco terrorists. It's a witch who sees that they're killing a bunch of Muggles. Maybe their parents were Muggles. Maybe she's like Hermione, where like
Mhm.
she has a foot in both worlds. So she sees the terrorists going around killing people, and she's like, "Oh, I gotta stop that." But she's gonna be kind of bizarrely sympathetic to the terrorists, even though they're just straight up killing people.
Mhm.
It'll be very much like, I'm imagining this very much like Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Yeah, you're
where
essentially
where
copying
everything's
this. Yeah,
is
perfect.
going to be very, very sympathetic to the terrorists, while kind of finger wagging at them and being like, "No, you shouldn't kill people." But really, anyone who criticizes them, it's like, you got to understand where they're coming from. It's going to have that sort of tone. And I think who
Oh.
better than to be the main witch? Main character will be Rachel Ziegler. She's popping off right now. Everyone loves her. So she's going to be the one, she's going to play Falcon, essentially, who's ostensibly got to stop these wizards from, and the action scenes are coming from, the wizards, killing people with their wands. And
I'm sold. By the way, I love
wreaking havoc on people who are just trying to do their jobs on fracking plants and things like that, and we're going to just be murdering them indiscriminately, bringing all this to a halt. And meanwhile, Rachel Ziegler and her compatriots are ostensibly trying to stop the terrorists, but they're also very sympathetic to the terrorists, the wizards, who are and so she's got to stop them while also getting the humans to finally do the right thing and do better, Senator, about climate change, whatever that means. The more vague the better. That way we don't have to commit to any policy prescriptions. We can just kind of like, we just need to do better, and you have to understand where these wizard terrorists are coming from. Even though they've murdered hundreds of people, you have to understand that really they're just concerned about climate change. So really we need to take their criticism seriously, and we need to do whatever the conventional, sort of like CNN opinion on what we need to do about climate change is. And that's the gist of it. And eventually we'll stop the killings, but we'll save the world by doing what the people killing everybody wanted. And we won't think about it too quickly. Oh, there was something else. I had something else. What was it?
The moral of the story.
Well, we need lots of cool action scenes, obviously, and we'll have cool. We'll try maybe one or two fight, like one long take fight scenes, because everyone seems to like those, and that'll give us our cool movie street cred. It's like, oh, look at this oneer that was almost entirely CGI, so it's not as impressive. We'll have a few of those, and then they'll save the day and save the world. The end.
I'm completely sold. Like, you've done some casting and stuff like that.
Last thing I wanted to mention, this is going to be very important. Now, a lot of people, when they're watching this movie, might be thinking things like, well, the wizards have all this incredible technology. They could probably just solve all of these problems with their magic. We're never going to do that, because that would kind of undermine the message, right? That people need to do more about climate change. So if the wizards can just solve all these problems like energy generation with magic, that would kind of undermine the message. So we'll just never acknowledge that even once. And that's my pitch.
I'm absolutely sold. I'm giving you that $100 million budget.
$100 million. I think we're gonna need something more in the like 250 range.
Oh Jesus! How long is it gonna be? Like 2 hours? 2 hours 12?
It's probably gonna be more like 2.5, because everything needs to be 2.5 hours long, because everyone's allergic to editing scissors nowadays. So it's gonna be like 2.5 hours long. It's gonna have a few pointless cameos, callbacks to actors from the Harry Potter movies who are all reticent to join this movie at all because of the backlash to J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling will not be involved, and that will be part of the marketing. We'll make a point of saying that she's not involved, because otherwise we might get criticized for doing anything in this world. So she won't be involved in the creation of it, but legally, of course, she will have to get a story and characters by credit. So she'll get some money, but we'll distance ourselves from J.K. Rowling as much as possible, so that we'll earn the goodwill of the fine folk on Twitter, we're going to bank on the success of the movie based on the appreciation of activists on Twitter. And I think we're going to have a hit on our hands.
I think so. Definitely. I mean, those Crimes of Grindelwald movies, they made bank, right? So I'm 100% certain this will too.
Yes. So. Yeah, the grittier, the more it's gonna have to be R-rated. Now I know not as many people will see it because it's R-rated, but we're trying to do a cool action thing, so we got to have helpless infrastructure workers just being decimated by wizards who we're meant to sympathize with. So we're gonna need to see a lot of blood and guts.
Oh, definitely. I guess the moral of the story is you are the carbon they want to reduce. So
Yes, we need to do better, Senator. That's the basic gist.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
we can include someone
absolutely.
saying you have to do better, that
Mhm,
would be good. If
mhm,
maybe, oh, we're gonna find out like the real villains, where of course, obviously, everyone in charge who's trying to fight against the eco terrorists, you know,
mhm.
because they could be saving the
Um,
world, but they're not. It's actually that simple. If they just did better,
mhm.
everything would be great.
I mean, I think we have a clear winner here. You just blew out my story pitch,
Oh,
like
I didn't
in the
realize it was
smoke.
a competition, but I'm
I
happy
guess.
to win. Yes. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you've done like castings, you've detailed scenes. I've just
It's
barely
a big
wrote two
part of the pitch.
sentences.
It's a big part of the pitch, man.
Uh,
Like honestly, some of those
I'm not
casting
jealous at
decisions
all.
are
Gee,
often more important than the story, it seems, you know?
that is so true. That is incredibly true. And on that bombshell, we'll be finishing off the show.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, thank you so much for coming
Oh,
on,
yeah,
Cap.
thanks for having me. It
Uh,
was fun.
it was fun.
I must say
Uh,
I especially enjoy the pitch at the end. That's fun for me.
mhm. Sorry, it
It's
was a bit
definitely
mishmash, I guess, technical difficulties and whatnot.
there was a little bit there where the audio was a little fucky, but we got through it. I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah.
heard any problems since. I think maybe it's just
Uh,
too many windows for StreamYards, but we got through
yeah,
it.
yeah. I had like tons with the news site and stuff like that. So I don't know why I'm plugged in, so it should be any problems with Wi-Fi, I guess.
Well, it might just be the Google Chrome is like a memory eater. It's just,
Mhm,
you got a bunch of tabs open, it just kind of swallows your
mhm.
memory. So
Yeah, I'll
that
definitely.
might
I'm
have been
sure.
part of it, especially since StreamYards is a browser
Mhm.
based.
Okay. Okay. So announcements for my channel. Um. I don't really have anything to announce apart from the fact I will be at the London Nodrotic meetup. So if anyone's watching, we'll be there. I'll be there. You can come say hi if you'd like.
That's
Uh.
cool.
I've think I've only I live in the UK for a very long time. I've only been there once and just passing through it on the coach. So it'll be fun to, I guess, explore. Try not to get stabbed on the way. I've been hearing a lot of stereotypes. Uh, so yeah, yeah, you can see me there essentially, and um, I think there'll be um some more videos. Like I think I'll be uploading essentially podcast clips from the podcast essentially to my channel. So stay tuned for those essentially. And yeah, I think that's all I have to announce on my channel. Yeah, stay tuned for the animated stream highlights. I upload them every so often when I can. Um, yeah, Cap, do you have anything to chill out and whatnot?
Not really. You can check out the channel. There'll be more
Mhm.
stuff coming to the channel.
Oh,
I'll be on the anniversary EFAP stream at some point, so that'll be fun. You can catch
oh,
me
that'll
there.
be fun to listen to. I'll definitely stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
I left Cap's Twitter and YouTube channel links in the description below, so you can subscribe to him there.
For
Yeah,
more
again,
correct
yeah,
and based and true opinions on movies,
mhm,
definitely. Yeah, man.
yep,
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
yep, definitely. I'll definitely invite you back sometime. Let me just play that. And with that, we'll be finishing off the show. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See ya.